Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we get to take a look at a figure that I'm sure all of us have been waiting for quite some time, and it is the Nanmu Carnotaurus. I did spring for both versions because, I mean, why not? It's Carnotaurus, I really can't say no. And I am really excited about this. The boxes themselves look pretty nice. They're primarily just a white with the Carnotaurus in the background. As far as the boxes go, the only real difference is the fact that the Carnotaurus is facing the opposite direction on one box and facing the other direction on the other box. So when it comes to the two different versions, that is the only real difference as far as the box goes. We don't want to take too long looking at the boxes, but we will open them up and take a look at these right now. So as far as what is included, you've got this very cool card here of the Carnotaurus in the color scheme that it does come with. Now there is actually a card in both of the boxes, however, as you can see, it only comes in one color. As far as what the Carnotaurus looks like, you only get the reddish, more Jurassic World version. The image really is quite beautiful. You've got the Carnotaurus just kind of standing there in the pose that it actually comes in, and you've got kind of a rib cage or something down here showing you that it has apparently fed in this area, or at least that's the way it would seem. If we flip it around, you get some very cool artwork of the Carnotaurus along with the skull, and some information that I unfortunately cannot read. However, the illustrations of the Carnotaurus here is really beautiful, absolutely magnificent drawings here that are included with the Nanmu Carnotaurus, and I actually really love that they've included this, and I hope that they continue to do something like this within all the releases of the future. Then you also get these! These are our human character. Now, of course, it's two of the same because you get the same human character with each dinosaur depending on the species. With the Indominus, I believe we got John Hammond. Then with the Indoraptor, we got Alan Grant. And now with the Carnotaurus, you have Ellie Sattler, and that's who this is right here. So it's super exciting now to have an Ellie. I actually do have two of Ellie Sattler, as you can see here, and two of Alan Grant, but only one of John Hammond because I only bought the one coloration of the Indominus. However, I have been considering possibly picking up the others as they look kind of cool, but I just haven't really decided as they are pretty expensive. But I think I'm going to paint these, or at least one of each of them, just to get the colorized versions. So if I do, I will definitely be sure to make a video and show you guys what they look like when they're finished. And then we have the main event, which would be the Carnotaurus, and there is the Jurassic World-ish version. And then here is, darn it, the greenish version, which is more resembling the novel version of the Carnotaurus, I think, and unfortunately, for some reason, he does not balance at all. I don't know why. We'll get them to stand like that by leaning on each other. I have actually heard from many people that their Carnotaurus do have standing issues, and that does appear to be true here with these ones, or at least the greenish version, because my reddish version actually stands pretty well, or at least seems like it, but I think it would probably fall over if I bumped into the review station or anything like that. I don't think it would hold up too well, so maybe making custom bases for these might be a good idea if you do in fact purchase them. But at first glance, I will say that both of these Carnotaurus figures are just absolutely gorgeous, honestly. Being a huge Carnotaurus nerd, I am heavily in love with both of these already, and they may be the best Carnotaurus figures that I have in my collection, possibly even nicer than the Dinosauria Sideshow version. These are really beautiful looking Carnotaurus figures, and the paint application looks to be extremely well done. That's one thing that it seems as though you can always count on when it comes to Nanmu, is a high quality, really beautifully done paint job. And that seems to be the continuous trend every time I buy one of their figures, and that shines through right here with these Carnotaurus for sure. So I am really excited, like I bet all of you are, and heavily anticipating the up-close and personal look, so let's do that now. So starting up here at the head of the Carnotaurus, you can see that as far as the sculpt and detail goes, it looks to be really well done. It is beautifully sculpted, portraying the Carnotaurus head really nice and thin, like you would expect to see as far as the skull shape goes, but the very small fine detailing also looks really nice. You can see the nostrils sculpted out right there, along with very nice detail and sculpt around the eye. I really like that area. I think as far as matching what you see on the Fallen Kingdom version of Carnotaurus, it really does look good. The actual paint job doesn't really match perfectly, honestly, to what you see in the film, but I think it still does look really, really nice. You can see that the eyes are painted beautifully. If I can get a nice close shot, look how nicely painted that eye is. It's really glossy, very realistic looking, as is the other eye here. Look at how nicely painted that eye is. Pretty much perfect. It's spot on. You have the articulated jaw, which is a little stiff, but I've also never opened it before. The inside of the mouth is a little tough to get in and see due to it being fairly dark in there, but what you can see does look really nice, actually really beautifully done. I almost want to shine a light in there and see how nice that looks, because from what I can see, it really is absolutely gorgeous inside the mouth. The tongue also looks really cool. You can see quite a bit of coloration included there, and a very nice gloss to give it that very realistic shine you would expect to see. The tongue, as far as the sculpting of the tongue, also looks really, really beautifully done. The teeth as well have a very realistic shine and almost have that translucent type of a look that you see on Rebor figures, which is one thing that I always commend them for, and I felt like, as far as the realism of the inside of a mouth goes, the only company that is trailing close behind, in my opinion, would be Nanmu. I feel like the inside of their dinosaur figures' mouths always look pretty darn realistic, but Rebor always had that one up as far as the teeth go, but on these Carnotaurus, I really feel like the teeth look pretty much identical to what you see on a Rebor figure, or at least extremely close, with that very cool, almost translucent type of an appearance, giving the mouth and the teeth a very, very realistic look. So that's a huge plus as far as this figure goes, as opposed to the previous Nanmu releases. That is really, really nice to see. Another very cool thing that you'll notice on here, as I'm moving it here, is you can see that the horns are actually shining. As far as the sculpting of the horns, they do have some beautiful detail and sculpt, but you can see as I'm turning it, they actually kind of have a gloss coat to them as well, as I would expect that the horns could potentially shine a little bit on a Carnotaurus, similar to like you would see on the tusks of an elephant or something like that, how they kind of have that shiny appearance, and that's definitely what you do see here on the Carnotaurus. So that's actually a really cool touch that Nanmu threw in here onto this beautiful figure. As you start to lead down the neck, you can see that the coloration is really nicely done. Lots of variation of color throughout as far as darker and lighter tones, and it kind of gets this black striping that runs down the neck. You can also see lots of wrinkling and everything going on here in the throat. Also a lot of wrinkling in general in the neck region of the dinosaur. You can see the trademark bumps of the Carnotaurus start to pick up and run down the entire length of the dinosaur. You get down here, the arms are really nice, very small, exactly like you would expect to see. There's so much wrinkling going on in this dinosaur, so much movement really beautifully being shown here. It's extremely impressive. You can see the shoulder blade right there. One of the very few downsides that I can say about the Nanmu figures is you can really see the seam here where the arm connects, and that's one thing that they've continuously had a kind of a problem with. I wouldn't really say a big problem, but as far as realism goes and sculpt, these figures are fantastic, but the only true downside that I can usually ever find with them is the seams are never really all that well hidden. So hopefully that's something that Nanmu can work on in the future and maybe get that seam issue under control. You'll actually notice it down here in the legs, right here where the knee connects to the rest of the leg. The seam is pretty visible. I mean, it's kind of hidden due to the fact that there's wrinkling going on in that region, but you can definitely take notice of it if you do look out for it. Beautiful skin wrinkling right here behind the arm, as the arm is kind of bunching that skin up there a little bit. You could take note of the rib cage that looks pretty nice right there. Beautiful dry brushing of like a lighter coloration has been done in the stomach region, I think just to lighten it up a little bit. In general, you can see so many different tones of color. You've got like that reddish brown and a little bit of a lighter brown, and then you have the blacks, and you actually have kind of a hint of green throughout the striping, the black striping as well. So there is a lot of color variation included. As you come back into this area, you can see the leg stretching the skin by the leg pulling back. The skin texture is really nice as well on this figure. You can see it's very small, very fine detailing as far as the scaling goes, but it looks really beautiful, as does the entire upper side of the Carnotaurus with that very armored type of a look. Beautiful skin wrinkling once again here in the leg. really shining through the movement that is occurring on the figure at this time. And very nice musculature as well. You can see just so many wrinkles and kind of folding of the skin going on. And there's also, again, you can see lots of hints of that green throughout, which is something I did not expect on this. Beautiful, very large bulging calf muscle as you move down into the foot, and the foot looks fantastic. Honestly, that is an absolutely beautiful work of art when it comes to a Carnotaurus foot. And again, look how realistic the claws are. You can see it's that translucent appearance as far as what we saw in the teeth, and it looks incredible on the nails. It really makes this figure just look extremely realistic and has that incredible shine, and the paint application of the nails is perfect. There's no sloppiness. The feet on these are probably, I think, maybe the best as far as feet and nails and everything go on dinosaur figures. Nanmu really is just absolutely killing it with these releases. Then as we move up into the tail, again, you can pick up on some nice wrinkling, some osteoderms here and there. Very nice paint application. Once again, you can see a few mixtures of coloration down here on the underside where the lighter color is, and those bumps run out the length of the tail right there. Really nice long curve, a very beautiful and very realistic curve. Not something that's completely out of the range of movement for a Carnotaurus. If we look at this side again, the head sculpt looks great. The eye once again looks really beautiful. Even the scaling on the lower jaw just looks fantastic. If you look at the head, if you actually open it, it kind of almost appears as though it has an underbite, but then when you close the jaw, it matches up perfectly, which is kind of strange, because even at that point, right there, it almost looks like there's a good underbite there, but then when you close it, it closes perfectly. So that underbite was one of the things that initially kind of threw me off a little bit with the promotional images, but on the figure, it really matches up quite perfectly. Once again, lots of wrinkling of the skin here in the neck and throat area. As you lead down into the shoulders, again, there's the shoulder blade. You can again see the arm pushing into the skin there of the stomach, bunching the skin up a little bit. There's that seam that I was speaking of earlier. The hands themselves actually look pretty nice, but they're very, very small. Lots of wrinkling again in the stomach. Just insane amounts of movement being shown throughout this dinosaur. You can pick up on the ribcage again, and they've kind of dry brushed some lighter browns over the ribcage to also help make that jump out at you a little bit. Very nice movement shown here in this leg. This leg is really pushing forward, stretching the skin quite beautifully here. Nice musculature again, and lots of wrinkling and skin folding, creases of the skin, everything really brilliantly shown in the sculpt of this in the leg area. Very nice calf muscles again with some osteoderms here and there. And then you come down into the incredibly beautiful Carnotaurus feet with those unbelievably nice painted nails. Those nails are just absolutely gorgeous, honestly. And even the dew claw is painted and exactly that same style of material used for it, giving it that very realistic, very translucent-y type of a look. It just looks absolutely amazing to me. And lots of wrinkling again going on here in the skin as you lead out the tail. And then we run out to that very nice beautiful curve that we saw on the other side. As far as the paint application on this one goes, I think it is really, really nicely done. Overall, it is definitely a very beautiful representation of the Jurassic World Carnotaurus, but I don't think it matches perfectly because on the actual Jurassic World Carnotaurus, you kind of had like splotchy black paint all over. Well, I shouldn't say paint, but color. It kind of had like a splotchiness, and I think it was a little bit of a darker red, and the face might have had a little bit more black to it, but regardless, this is an absolutely beautiful version of that Carnotaurus, and I think the paint job is definitely close enough that it's not a huge deal, that it doesn't look bad or anything at all, because it honestly might be my favorite Carnotaurus that I have if it were not for this one. Because I'm not sure what it is about this one, but this thing is just so beautiful to me, and I definitely like this one more than the Jurassic World version. As far as the sculpt of this one in comparison to the previous Carnotaurus we just looked at, the sculpt is exactly the same. They do just offer it in different paint applications, paint schemes, and I just couldn't say no to having two of these because now I've got like a mating pair. But again, this one really kind of reminds me of the novel version of the Carnotaurus with the green and everything, so it's another very appealing reason as to why I really wanted this version as well. As far as the difference in paint application, which is really the only thing that we need to look at on this one, you can see that the face is primarily that greenish color, and then kind of almost has like a purple in the areas of the eye socket, the palate, and everything, which helps to give it a very cool look. You also can see that the horns are kind of given that shine like we saw in the other one. Again, it does have an articulated jaw, but it is really solid when you first try to open it. So if we look inside, it actually looks like the tongue is definitely painted slightly different than the other one, which helps to give this its own individuality. Oh, look at that. You can see inside the mouth a little bit. There we go. Look, that's nuts. That's absolutely insane how nice that is in there. Really, really incredible work on an area that you wouldn't expect to have so much work done, because honestly, it's pretty hard to get in there and see it. Nanmu did not skimp out at all on this Carnotaurus. That is incredible inside the mouth. The eyes on this one are also painted to perfection. Look at how nice that eye looks. And also on the other side. So the eyes are painted beautifully. That's one of the very few issues that I've ever had on Nanmu figures, and it was actually only on my Indominus. It had kind of one wonky eye, but so far since then, every single time I've gotten one of these figures, I think the eyes have been perfect. As far as color difference, again, you can see it has kind of like a lighter, almost lime green with some darker green striping going down. A little hint of brown here in the neck as well. And then certain areas like the shoulder and arms have that darker green, but not quite the same shade that you see there. We've got a mixture of like lighter white kind of dry brushing done over the nicely browned stomach, along with some hints of the green and stuff in there. You can see that that darker green stripes the entire body and down the leg. You can see many variations of green included, giving it a really beautiful appearance as far as skin tone goes. And again, the nails look incredible on this one as well, as do the feet. The foot sculpts are just fantastic. And then you can see that the tail has a beautiful green with that striping, and then kind of almost gets to a very light, almost a white, but a very light green with the striping here at the end, giving it an absolutely beautiful and very flashy appearance. And that's the same deal that you see on this side as far as the paint application goes. It is extremely well done. It looks very realistic. It doesn't look like paint. It really beautifully looks like body color. And both of these Carnotaurus figures are absolute works of art. I love both of these. So as far as a size goes on the Carnotaurus, from the head to the tail, you were looking at about 11 3/4 inches, which you can't see that, about 11 3/4 inches, or about 29.5 centimeters in length. So that is definitely a pretty good size. And for a height, you're going to see it at about 4 inches or 10 centimeters. I was actually really impressed with how large these Carnotaurus figures are just a minute ago when I got them out of the box, because I actually expected them to be a good bit smaller. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, and you can see the Carnotaurus are kind of wanting nothing to do with him and trying to escape and leave the area. Or that may just be because that's the position that I had them in when I was measuring them. But regardless, you can see that the Papo T-Rex is pretty big, but so are the Carnotaurus. As far as the length go, they're definitely longer than the T-Rex, but just not quite as high. And for another size comparison, there are the Berserker Raptors, aka the Indoraptors from Nanmu. And if you happen to have these figures, you hopefully will be able to get an idea of what the size is on these Carnotaurus, looking at it next to said Berserker Raptor. But if you don't, then you of course have the option of looking at it next to the Berserker Rex, aka the Indominus, who you can see absolutely destroys them as far as a size goes. But this should give you a good idea that they are doing a great job as far as keeping these all in the same size range as far as what realistically you would see in the films. I think they are really beautifully giving us an incredibly cool set of dinosaur figures as far as Jurassic World figures go, but I love the fact that they are keeping them all in the correct size range to each other, helping to not only give you an awesome set of Jurassic World or Jurassic Park figures, but giving you an awesome set of correctly sized figures when it comes to sizing them amongst each other. Also, you can get a quick look at Ellie Sattler here and see how nice the sculpt and detail is on her. It's a little bit bright because it's such a bright whitish coloration. It's a little hard to honestly pick up on the detail and sculpt on it, but as far as an Ellie Sattler goes, it is really nicely done. And I'll show you guys again when it's actually painted, and we'll probably be able to get a much better idea of how nice this actually looks then. So unquestionably, both of these Carnotaurus figures are pure beauty, in my opinion. Again, with me, I'm a huge Carnotaurus nerd, like I've said about 6 billion times in all my reviews, so I'm kind of a little biased when it comes to Carnotaurus. I'm destined to pretty much like anything that comes out that's Carnotaurus, but honestly, speaking from just a dinosaur lover in general, these are extremely nice figures. Definitely very, very high quality. They have a very realistic appearance as far as the sculpt work goes, and these things are sculpted to the max, portraying everything that could possibly be going on with a Carnotaurus in the position that it's in as far as the movement, wrinkling of the skin and stretching the skin and everything. It is incredibly nicely portrayed throughout these figures, and the paint schemes are also really beautifully done, looking very natural and not at all looking like paint on a figure. They really honestly look like the body colors of both of these dinosaurs, and I love that Nanmu gave us the option of having two different versions as they always seem to do, which is really, really cool for us collectors that maybe you don't like the one color scheme and you want the other color scheme. Well, they give you choices, so you can pick whatever color scheme you like. Me personally, I like the greener one back there in the back a little more than the Jurassic World style version on the right, but they are honestly both beautiful. I really, really love both of these figures, and they are definitely going to be an incredibly awesome addition to my collection. So if you do want to buy these, I will actually link you to a seller on Aliexpress who almost always sells his Nanmu and W Dragon figures and all that for a little cheaper than you seem to find anywhere else, and he's a very reliable seller, so I will definitely link you in the description to him. So if you are in fact interested in these figures, go down there, click that link, and make sure you order them from him, and tell him Andy sent you, actually, because with how many figures I order, we've kind of created a little bit of a friendship, so it'll be nice to let him know that I'm sending people from here to there to purchase figures from him. But again, he really has incredible prices on his figures, and that's kind of what drew me to him in the first place and started to order my figures from him. And it turned out that he was actually a really cool dude that sells figures for a very honest price. So make sure you check the description, head on over to him on AliExpress, and pick up these Carnotaurus figures if you are in fact interested. Otherwise, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.